action figure fans? Once again, it's the one and only Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And on today's episode, thanks to all of your support, especially those of you that are Optibotimus Plus channel members, we got a bit of a surprise and delight here for you. We're going to be taking a look at the new Marvel Legends 60 Years of X-Men set with Gambit, PSYLOKKE, and the one I wanted this set for, Marvel's Banshee, which is a figure that has desperately needed a new release for a long time. And I'm super happy to finally get them, especially with them actually releasing a lot of the upcoming characters from the Generation X comic series, which I was a big fan of in the 90s. For the package, though, you can see that it is done in this kind of close-off sort of thing with product shots here of all three of the figures. You got the Uncanny X-Men kind of there in the back. Come around to the side, you got up-close images of them. The other side here has more comic-inspired images, which is cool. When you come around to the back, it shows basically, again, the figures again, but shows more of their accessories, like PSYLOKKE's alternate hands, her little psychic weapon, Banshee coming along with two different heads, two different pairs of hands, and then, of course, Gambit with the staff, a couple different hands there, and then the throwing card hand, which we've seen before. Like I said, this set is primarily one that I wanted for Banshee, because I already have, in my opinion, really good versions of both PSYLOKKE and Gambit. I don't really care much about those guys. It's him that I wanted this set for. But for the packaging on these guys, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get them out here and see how cool they actually are. And here we have that new 60th anniversary of the Uncanny X-Men PSYLOKKE, Gambit, and Banshee set opened up and out of their packaging. And here we have that new Marvel Legends 60th anniversary of the Uncanny X-Men PSYLOKKE, Gambit, and Banshee opened up and out of their packaging. And this is a terrific set. Updating a lot of these very classic figures to have that uniform look is obviously a great way to kind of revisit a lot of these characters. And it also gives them the opportunity to improve a lot about these figures. Now, granted, for me, primarily this set was something that I wanted to get for him. However, these two really turned out fantastic. Starting off first with PSYLOKKE, you can see that she does come with a couple hands here. You have one that's like in this chopping sort of pose. You also get another fist that has a open section here where if you wanted to put her sword in there, you could. But you also have these hands here where there's just a regular fist, and then this hand, which is open also. So you have some options. But you do have these little effect pieces, which we've seen before, but the coloring on here, I think, is very nice. You can see it's this very nice translucent purple, which looks really cool. You do have the blade with the little energy effect that you can slide on here if you wanted to, or if you just want to leave it without the energy effect, you could do that as well. But these are really cool. And then bringing in the other PSYLOKKE that I have, this, I don't even remember, was this the X-Force version? It might be. This is what was in my collection for the longest time because I never got that more comic accurate in terms of the X-Men that I really wanted. But you can see that the effects are basically the same here. So you have the more translucent purple. This is a little bit more pinkish. Same thing here with the sword. I actually really prefer these. These are very nice and colorful, but I think that these look a little bit more close to how the energy effects looked in the comics. But you can also see she comes with this little, little psychic piece going on here. She doesn't, which is kind of unfortunate, but I would imagine you could probably, yeah, you can, maybe, I don't know. I mean, you got little prongs here on the side. You just kind of like wedge that on there. I guess you could probably, I mean, if you really wanted to, yeah, you could get that to work on there. I mean, the colors aren't necessarily matching. There's some darker purple there you can use if you really wanted to. But neither one of these are the versions of PSYLOKKE that I truly want. I do want more of that classic look. I just never was able to get it. Head sculpt wise, you can see it's different. I'm not entirely sure if this is one that they reused from somebody else. I don't collect a lot of these. I have to be very specific with the ones that I collect, just because these things take up a lot of space over time. But coming in to take a closer look at these, and let's get that as close as I possibly can, and focus on here. But you can see the head sculpts are obviously very different, but both of them look really good. But one thing that I do notice is, like, there's a lot of real nice kind of realism in these that I don't know if I really noticed before, but they look fantastic. Both of them really do. I do really like the purple hair here, how it's kind of open up like that, where she's kind of got it in this ponytail. That looks really cool. I do dig it. Now, I haven't done this yet, so I can't imagine why. I mean, they all are just ball joints, so maybe you can... Oh, wow, that one's early on there. There we go. I can imagine you could probably just put that on. That ball joint is definitely, I mean, that head sits up kind of high on her. I don't know how I feel about that, because she's definitely got a more pale look on this, and then you can see this like color here is kind of weird. So I don't know. I don't know if you can really do that, but you can definitely see a more toned down color here, where yeah, that's a completely different color. She's a lot more pale in this. There's a lot more kind of coloring in her face on that, so it doesn't really, you can see it doesn't really look all that good. If it focuses on there, yeah, it doesn't really look all that good. So you could do it, it seems. I'm like, the ball feels like maybe if you heat it up, I mean, that doesn't look all that bad though, to be totally honest. If you can get that heated up a little bit and get that ball joint on there, I mean, I don't, oh wow, that sounded really bad, and that's loose. What did I just do? No, that didn't do anything. That just, the ball joint is like really big on that, so it doesn't fit nearly as well on there. So ultimately, I do like this one a little bit more. She matches more with the overall X-Men look, and I like the skin tone on her a whole lot better. This is a really good looking figure. Her belt though is like a separate piece, so you do kind of have to get that like getting centered. There we go. One thing that's nice is her articulation. I talked about how coming back and revisiting some of these characters, you can really improve things. So for example, this one just has a single joint here at the elbow. You get a pretty good range of motion with it, as you can see, but you can also see that this uses the older pin joint system. These are now pinless, which is great. She does have 2 elbow joints though, so it's actually fairly stiff on it. It's kind of like, I don't want to say like NECA, but these joints don't seem to want to pop. But you can see that there are 2. I'm going to heat that up and do it myself, but you do have 2 joints there, so it's nice to see, but it's also pinless, which gives it a much more seamless look. I do really appreciate them doing that on the figure, but the overall look on her is spectacular. Really very nice. Almost, yeah, I definitely am going to replace this one with this. I wasn't really sure if I was going to, but playing with her some more, I do really like it in terms of the comparison between the two. So that one's going in my storage, and it's going to go bye-bye. So she's a great figure, and really happy to report that it was very improved. Now, for Gambit here, again, I don't know necessarily if these bodies... I want to say that these bodies are getting reused by just about everybody. Cyclops, all of them, they have this little band that was a very big problem before, but you can see that a lot of them really use the same body in terms of changing the torso and everything. Obviously, that has been swapped out. But he comes with a lot of the same accessories that I had, and I'm not entirely sure, again, which version of him. But this is the version that is going to be in my collection. Now, I do really like the previous little effects pieces here. The color here is a little bit darker, as you can see, coming in to take a closer look at that little guy. You can see that the color is definitely darker than that one. But I like the fact that the card's actually painted on here. You can see it has a slight pinkish look to it, whereas this is all pink. You can still kind of see the little spade there in the background, but the coloring here is just, I prefer to have that, honestly, but I do like the darker color on it. I just wish that was painted white. So you do have that little effect piece, but then you also have this, and I don't know where it is, but you do have the hand throwing sort of effect. You can see the different cards that he has on there with the different paint. I do like that. And then it does appear like you can see the pin right here, that this entire hand is molded in this translucent sort of plastic, and then the hand is painted yellow. They actually did a pretty good job of matching the paint. It's not exact. You can see that this is definitely a little bit darker than this one here, but it's still pretty close, and it looks decent, I think. And you know, if you want to have him like throwing the cards, this is a great... I did that. But again, this is a reused accessory, so nothing terribly different from there. And then he does come with the staff that you can see. The biggest difference between the staffs is this hand is very loose, and you can see it falls right out. This hand here is a lot tighter than this one is, and that's just because it's a completely different hand, honestly. So he holds the staff a whole lot better. But basically the same thing. This is a little bit darker of a plastic, but nothing overly spectacular. You can see he comes with a satchel. This satchel has been seen countless times. I think it was originally released with like Mary Jane or something like that, but he's got a little satchel, which, you know, why not? I mean, he's a Cajun, so there you go. But the head sculpt is also different on this. So again, I don't know which head sculpt they used, but it still looks absolutely incredible. Coming in to take a closer look at these two head sculpts, I want to try to get everything out of the way. It's a different head sculpt, but one thing that's very interesting about it is the realism that they got on this. I mean, that is really photorealistic, which looks really cool. Hopefully you can see that, but I dig that. The hair looks really cool on them. The paintwork is outstanding. It's a little bit better, I think, but it's the sculpt also that really looks good. But a lot of times, when you look real close at him, if it'll focus, come on, focus on him. You know you want to. It's not that hard. But you can see that it's just, you add more paint. I mean, this one, you know, is definitely missing some paint. This one looks really cool, though. But I do prefer this look for him. So while I do like the head sculpt on this new one, and again, I'm going to pop this off to see if it's easy to just... Oh, he wears this little neck piece. I forgot. He's got this little thing that he wears around his neck that just kind of makes it look like he's cooler. I don't know. So let's see. Pop these off. See if this has a better fit than that other one. Oh, that actually looks really cool. So again, this might be a new head. It might be another one that we got before. Either way, that's a real good head sculpt. The paint on there looks really good. We have got a couple different Gambits over the years, so it's definitely possible that they just repainted it, and I'm just not entirely up to date on all of them because there is a lot that come through. But putting this guy on here, and like the ball section is a little bit tighter. That's not bad. That's not bad. I mean, I don't really see much of a difference other than, you know, like the sculpted hair. I just really like the sculpted hair on that, I think. And like I said, the photorealistic paint on there just looks so darn cool. So what I'll more than likely do is keep the new head on the old body. And that's how I'm probably going to display my figure, which means I'm again going to have to get rid of this guy. But people are probably not going to want the old head. I mean, maybe I'll be able to get people to want to buy it just because they might want to kit bash him a little bit and make other characters. Because we have a ton of heads. I mean, you can take whatever head you want. Here, let's... Oh, that's weird. Do I have any other heads over here in my little pile of toys that basically you guys can't see? I don't see any right here, but... in general, though, again, I do prefer the head on this one, but I prefer the older figure. So it's going to be personal preference. For me, though, like I said, it was all about Banshee. One thing that I love that they're doing is they're doing a lot of Generation X characters. Generation X was a series that came out in the 90s where Jubilee left to go along with Sean Cassidy and Emma Frost to found a new school for Professor X. Sean here, as well as Emma Frost, were going to be the headmasters. And Jubilee was helping to kind of give some, you know, like validity to it. But that's where a lot of other new characters came in, which they're also making. And they are making another Emma Frost figure. And I feel like they're doing Banshee to kind of be able to go in with those other figures. So I feel like it was a perfect opportunity for them to revisit this character. And I'm so glad that they did. He is super, super cool. He does come with a couple extra hands. You can see some fists on here, and you have some, like, gesturing, like, claw hands. You also do get 2 head sculpts with him, which both of these head sculpts are super, super amazing. You come in here to take a close look. You can see that this one here is just kind of like, you know, him just kind of like just sitting there looking stoic, but you can see his gorgeous ginger hair, his mutton chops coming down. One thing that's interesting about the other one, though, is the mutton chops kind of blow away in the back. That's kind of funny to me, but, you know, like, I love the screaming look. I mean, it's super, super cool. Don't know how they could ever do, like, an effect where he's blasting out his sonic screams or anything, but that is an outstanding, again, very, very photorealistic head sculpt. They're doing amazing work lately, and I love how both of these turned out. The figure itself is pretty much the same thing in terms of the body with him. You can see, again, you got the pinlage joints, you got the double jointed elbows and knees and such. So all of that is basically the same thing here. You can see his torso, though, is a little bit different because he's got these little collar pieces that pop up. But I don't know if those are separate pieces, but it looks amazing. And then, of course, his wings. You can open up his arms, and his wings are right there for everybody to see. And these, again, look absolutely terrific. It kind of feels like the best way I can describe it is those old parachute toys. So it doesn't feel like vinyl or anything, and it does kind of feel a little bit delicate. It's very thin, and like I said, it feels like a parachute, so maybe if I drop him, he'll, like, float or something, but I think it looks great. In terms of, like, doing a display, this is exactly how I'm going to display him, just because of how, well, maybe the other way, I don't know, but you can get a real cool look with him. You have butterfly joints here, much like Gambit does, so you can bring these back further to get a good flying pose, and you can angle this head, angle the waist, pop this head off. If you had a flight stand, which I don't have, it would probably look really cool. Get this on here. I'm just being very careful because I don't want to put any pressure on this, but get that head on there. Come on, is that on there? There we go. So you got a good range of motion here with that neck joint. You have this, and you can have them. Banshee! I mean, super, super cool. I mean, absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Bring these arms down. You can see that it actually is connected. When you come around the back, it does get a little bit ugly. It connects to these little tabs here that are attached to his arms. The one thing that's nice is the ones attached to his torso here are actually articulated, so you can kind of rotate those around. The other ones are not. They're fixed into place. From the front, you don't see them, which, let's be honest, that's how people are going to have him displayed, kind of thing. Even when you have him like that, you don't really notice it all that much. But you can see that they are obviously there. I do like the fact that they are color coordinated with where they're kind of attached, with the exception of these pieces here, but it doesn't look bad. It really doesn't. He's got his belt, which looks good. The rest of the costume looks very, very clean, very accurate. Just super, super fun. Now, these do limit the articulation a little bit. You can see that you can lift them up and everything. You got the little butterfly joint. You can move them forward, but it gets stuck about there because of this. So you don't get a full 360, but that's perfectly fine. You know, I'm okay with that. The elbows do have a full range of motion, though, with it, with those 2 double joints right there, so you can get a good range of motion there. But again, it doesn't really limit it. There's a lot of kind of slack in this, so you're not going to be really limited too terribly much in terms of using the articulation and the arms, which I do really very much appreciate. The legs also, it's not going to be limited because of that, because you can pretty much do whatever you want. You can rotate it. You won't be able to rotate it all the way around, but you can't do that anyhow with your leg, so why do it with an action figure? And then you have the 2 joints at the knee as well, which doesn't limit anything, and honestly, I just think it's a really well done way of having his little wing cape thing on there. I just super happy with how it turned out. The guy is really stellar, very cool. Like I said, I'm very excited about getting the whole Generation X sort of thing going on. I'm a big 90s X-Men fan, and these characters, while these two, for me, are just extra ones, and this is the main star, it's still a terrific set. And honestly, I would recommend this all day long for all of them, because they are really good toys. So there you go, guys. There's my look at the new Marvel Legends 60th anniversary of the Uncanny X-Men PSYLOKKE, GAMBIT, and BANSHEE set. If this is a set that you would like to add to your collection, it will be hitting online stores fairly soon. So to help you out with that, I'm going to put links right down there in the video description where you can head on over to places like Big Bag Toy Store, Amazon, or even Entertainment Earth. For that last one, if you click on that link to go to Entertainment Earth, in addition to helping you guys save 10% off of any in-stock order, you'll also help to support the channel. So give it a go. I'd really appreciate it. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. Once again, I want to thank you all for tuning in and watching. And until next time, this has been Optibotimus saying adios, au revoir, and auf Wiedersehen.